Hello, welcome friends to this another lecture. That's going to be very interesting because this is one of the last lectures, and I'm going to deliver this talk in the two parts. So the topic of the part one is on your screen: Bhartiye Drishti, Indian way of thinking and perception. So out of this long discussion so far, we have come to the conclusion that what do we mean by the Indian knowledge traditions? What do we mean by Indian ethos? And out of this whole discussion, one point comes to the mind that what is that which we normally say the Bhartiya Drishti, the way how we think, how we Indians think, and how we look at the phenomena, the perception part, or how we just interpret the things. So, Indian knowledge traditions or Indian philosophy can be defined, or Indian knowledge and ethos can be defined by this one adage from Rig Veda, Anu Bhadra Kratvayantu Vishvata, that says, "Let noble thoughts come to me from all direction." So, this adage and similar other thousands of adages define the Indian knowledge traditions and ethos. But since this discussion is going on and we come to know that this is not a new thing out of this long discussion, and earlier the essence was existing, the content was existing, the very idea of Indian knowledge tradition was existing, even the reality was existing without a name. We just got this name during NEP 2020, and we just came to know that Indian knowledge traditions or Indian knowledge system has been introduced as one of the integral part of graduation syllabus, right from the school curriculum to the higher education curriculum. This is going to be very mandatory, and many schools are teaching this. So, in that context, many interpretations are there. As you see that in one of the earlier discussions, we just pointed out Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. The reality is one, and the intellectuals interpret it in multiple ways, multiple directions. In the same way, Indian knowledge traditions is not just confined to the philosophical aspects, rather, it is expanded to the science and technology, as well as to the astrology, to the music, the arts, and also from the sociological perspectives, from the religious perspectives, and from different multiple dimensions Indian knowledge traditions can be defined and interpreted. So obviously, when such vast discipline is available, vast content is available, and from the breadth and length, this the boundaries are very wider. Obviously, some misconceptions may emerge, some misunderstanding may emerge. So, I'm just going to draw your attention towards certain facts and fallacies regarding the Indian knowledge traditions. Often we consider that knowledge of India includes knowledge only from ancient India, specific to Vedic literature and religious fervor of Brahminical or Hindu traditions. That is a later concept. The term Hindu is not available neither in Rig Veda nor in Upanishad, so it's a later concept. But in a broader perspective, it is considered that Indian knowledge tradition is just confined to the Brahminical or the Hindu tradition. So it's a fallacy. The fact is, knowledge of India is a continuous process from ancient time and the result of a shared and composite culture with their intellectual and spiritual traditions over the centuries. So, Indian knowledge tradition is not just confined to a specific era or a specific community or a specific branch of knowledge or a specific the literature means compiled or composed in a particular language, that is basically Sanskrit. Rather, it included with the passage of time a number of compositions, a number of contributions from different communities across the religion, across the border, across the languages, and so many other identities, whether ethnic or religious or communal. So it's a like a vast ocean where different knowledge traditions are like the different streams. Another fallacy often emerge: every branch of knowledge and its historical evolution globally has its roots in Indian traditions of Sanskrit knowledge system and scriptures. that often I confront such type of discussion or such type of claims that everything, whatever is available in the world knowledge traditions, that has its roots and origin in Indian knowledge traditions. So always it's not true. Actually, this philosophical adage is associated with Srimad Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata. When we go through the Mahabharata, it is written there that whatever is here, it is everywhere, or whatever is nowhere, whatever is not here, it is nowhere. So that philosophical idea is associated with Mahabharata. That's not true with this vast knowledge traditions, because knowledge tradition is the efforts by people of different branches or different associations regarding science, technology, engineering, music, arts, and so on. So every time in the world some knowledge tradition is going on. So the fact in this context is that different traditions of knowledge developed in different parts of world in different time periods. Their similarity sometimes is natural in the history of human race and common needs. Human culture is inclusive. Human culture is not exclusive, because whatever we are experiencing, that may be the experience of someone else too. So broad-mindedness is one of the very peculiar characteristics of Indian knowledge traditions. That's why in the very beginning I started my lecture with Ano Bhadra Kratvoyantu Vishvata. Let noble thoughts come from all directions. So it's not just confined to um, this way. Now, another fallacy is Indian philosophy and knowledge traditions are religious in nature, and its other name is Sanatan or Hindu Sanskriti or Darshan. In that way, often it is claimed that whatever Indian knowledge tradition is there, that is confined only to one a religion, or it has been claimed as a religious identity, and that is termed as the Sanatana. That term was not there some when we used to study about the different other aspects of Indian knowledge traditions, like about the epics or the Ramayana and Mahabharata. So actually the term Sanatan means which has no beginning. That is from the time immemorial. So that term is actually used in a philosophical sense. But the fact in this regard is religion is not the exact translation of term. So Indian knowledge tradition is not cannot be confined only to a religion. Religion is not the exact translation of term dharma. The implications of dharma are wider and deeper, unlike religion. That's why terminology and vocabulary, that is lexics, in knowledge traditions are very important aspects of Indian philosophy. So we have already discussed different dimensions of the terminology, specific terminology in one of the lectures, that dharma and religion are not the same thing. Dharma has its own implications. So in a very specialized way, and in a very philosophical way, in a spiritual way, in ethical way, dharma has been interpreted. So that is not just confined to the meaning of the term religion that comes from the West. So these are certain fallacies. Other fallacies are also there, but due to the paucity of time, we are just enhancing the discussion further. Defining the inclusive idea. That's another peculiar characteristic of Indian knowledge traditions. Intellectual and spiritual traditions of knowledge in India in different time periods, from ancient to modern times, with reference to their evolution, development, and continuity, with changing content, culture, and context. Indian way of thinking is contextual, not absolute. It's relative, as we understood in the context of Jain principles of Syadvad, as well as we find the six schools of Indian philosophy. Uh, Two of the six schools do not believe in the same concept of Brahm, what Vedic perspective says. So, in that way, there's the pluralism, there is a variety, there's the diversity of thought too. So, in that way, it's not exclusive, it's not absolute, rather, it's contextual. Second important aspect is that Sanskrit knowledge system is not all about the reservoir of Indian knowledge traditions. Rather, literature written by people of various religions as well as non-religious people, and by people from all walks of life and a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds over thousands of years. This is the way how Indian knowledge traditions we find today. Then Pali, Prakrit, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and other Indian languages and different dialects, local dialects, regional languages, they have all the immense treasure of Indian knowledge traditions in the form of their culture, traditions, and the marvels and skills and arts and so on, science, technology, obviously. Then, when cross cultural influence also came to be the part of Indian knowledge traditions, then literature in Arabic, Persian, Urdu, that's a purely Hindustani language, and Hindi, English with regional dialects of Hindi and other local languages, they also have a lot of treasure of Indian knowledge tradition. So this is the inclusive idea, not the exclusive. So IKS or Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge traditions cannot be confined only to one exclusive idea of that confined to one specific age, to one religion, to one language, or to one specific ideology. That's actually the fallacy. So just keeping in mind this beginning, we just move further. Do we mean by the Indian way of thinking? The Indian way of thinking, that is called the Bhartiye Chintan Parampara, is deeply rooted in a worldview that sees life as an integrated whole, where spiritual, moral, social, and intellectual dimensions of human existence are considered inseparable. It's fundamentally holistic, synthetic, experiential, and value oriented. And we have already discussed that in Indian point of view. The philosophy means darshan, and that is the by which ultimate reality is seen. So, in that way, experiential learning is the basis of this immense treasure. The term Bhartiya Drishti refers not merely to a geographical or cultural identity, but to a distinctive worldview, the way you perceive the phenomena, the people, the society, and so on, that perceives reality, knowledge, and life in unity and conformity. So, what's Bhartiya Drishti? The key idea is life is not a fragmented experience, but a single cosmic process. The individual and the universe grow together. This perspective reflects the Indian knowledge tradition, that is Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. It flourished through Vedas, Upanishads, Darshanas, epics, Bhakti traditions, Sufi traditions, classical literature, arts, and social practices. And the list is very long. Bharatiya Drishti is contextual and relative. It is derived from socio-philosophical legacy. So now we will just concentrate on what is socio-philosophical legacy. It refers to the enduring influence of both social structures and philosophical ideas that shape society and human understanding. It is sometimes associated with traditions, ethos, culture, and civilization. The relevance of socio-philosophical legacy influence modern behavior because it basically influences modern behavior, institutions, and worldviews, and our perceptions, decision making, and so on. Cultural impact, redesign the perception and vision. Here we see the social aspect of this socio-philosophical legacy. The one aspect is social, another is the philosophical aspect. We see that Indian traditions are very much influenced by the caste system, by the social fabric, social hierarchy, or social division in different groups on the basis of social identity or the commercial identity or cultural identity. This aspect refers to how a society is organized, its norms, institutions, ethics, and laws. And then social aspects also include the ways in which human beings relate to one another, the structures of power, justice, and community, and the broader social practices that define a culture. For example, in ancient and colonial Indian society, the concept of dharma, that is righteous duty, that is one of the meanings of dharma, and the caste system, zamindari system, and nawab system, and colonial impact, they all influenced the social fabric in later periods. So some images are on your screen. Here you can see the image of a zamindar, feudal lord system, and the image of the nawabs. So they all influenced in multiple ways to the very idea of socio-cultural and socio-economic and socio-political structure of Indian society. Such systems influenced way of thinking, elements like discriminatory thought, sometimes inhuman attitude, and sometimes need of reforms in later period. Like the caste system was challenged even during the freedom struggle, and the loud voices were raised against it, and it was eliminated ultimately by the Constitution of India. And in the same way, you see that after independence, the feudal lord system that was a symbol of the tyranny or suppression or the discriminatory thought in Indian society for the marginalized and downtrodden people. So it was also eliminated by the Constitution of India and so on. Then, in Indian society, what is the social legacy? Dharma is the idea of righteous duty, Varna system, we have discussed it. Ethics and laws, like from the Dharma Shastras, Smritis, and like Manu Smriti or Parashar Smriti, Megha Tithi, Jimutvahan, the commentators on that, they all design the social norms and moral codes. And then community and harmony, like when cross cultural elements were there, and impact of other communities and religion and geographical and political influence were there. So the emphasis on collective well-being and duty towards family and society. Then position of women is one of the indicators and the criteria that makes you aware that what is the status of a society. If you wish to know about a nation, about a society, then you just have a look on the position of women in that society. Then you will come to know what is the status of that society. So in Indian context, you see like rights, roles, and status of women in a society were the major criteria or the parameters to define in what way the knowledge traditions are going on. Then another aspect is philosophical. This pertains to the intellectual and metaphysical ideas that explain the nature of reality, ethics, consciousness, and existence. It refers to the ideology and its influence on social practices. It also shapes the perception, attitude, and vision of a society, because philosophy begins with the thinking activity. So that's why the very idea of thinking, the way Indians think, that comes from the philosophical aspects. And then philosophical ideas obviously shape how people understand the world and their purpose within it. It helps to form point of view. So, what is the philosophical legacy, like social legacy in Indian society? Principles of karma, they also direct and steer our life. Theory of rebirth, Punarjanam Siddhant, and predetermined fate, that is Bhagyavad, Niyativad, concept of Atma and Paramatma, soul and God, Swarg and Narg, and idea of pessimism, like three types of sorrows are there, three types of dukkhas are there. And then concept of dharma discussed how the idea of dharma shape personal, social, and political responsibilities. Then epics as socio-philosophical text like Ramayana and Mahabharata to the largest extent shaped the thought and fabric of this society, Indian society particularly. It not only influenced the followers of its own like faith people, but those people who didn't have faith, who were not similar in their faith, they also were the great admirers of these epics. Like during Mughal periods, Mahabharata and Ramayana were translated, and not only translated, many of the teachings were followed by the Mughals in their political and cultural decisions and social decisions. So, Ramayana and Mahabharata in Indian knowledge traditions are not just confined to the religious books, rather, they are the books of humanity. They are for all the time. So, this is the influence of a philosophical legacy. And then reflections of philosophy in Jivan Darshan, that has evolved out of experience, observation, experimentation, and rigorous analysis. This impacted our education, administration, law, justice, health, manufacturing, and commerce. Philosophical ideas influence Indian languages and transmitted through textual, oral, and artistic traditions. And cinema, literature, and our daily life also reflects values and ideological viewpoint full of diversities, as is reflected in Indian philosophy too. So, Jivan Darshan is reflected by Indian cinema, that is a philosophical perspective, like you see the very titles of Indian cinema, जीवन मृत्यु, जीवन एक संघर्ष, जीवन युद्ध, जीवन धारा और जीवन की शतरंज। इन द सेम वे रिसेंटली डियर जिंदगी एंड आदमी और इंसान, आदमी खिलौना है, बड़ा आदमी. So these are all the titles of Indian very popular Hindi movies. They all reflect the how the idea how we reflect the life or the what are our perceptions towards the life. In the same way, Indian songs in Hindi movies, particularly, I have collected from just one language. You may also extend your search towards a different other languages in Tamil, in Malayalam, in Bangla, in Odia. Many movie songs you will come to know that what they say about Jeevan Darshan. Zindagi Kaisi Hai Paheli from one of the very popular movies of Rajesh Khanna and Amitabh Bachchan, Anand 1971. What a strange riddle life is. Zindagi Ek Safar Hai Suhana, that is Andaz 1971. Life is a beautiful journey. Aane Wala Pal Jaane Wala Hai from a very popular movie Golmaal 1979 from Amol Palekar. The coming moment is already leaving. Another idea is जिंदगी के सफर में गुजर जाते हैं जो मकाम वो फिर नहीं आते. People come and go in life's journey. From आपकी कसम 1974 and ये जीवन है इस जीवन का यही है रंग रूप. That is the beautiful lines of this song from पिया का घर 1972. एंड देन जिंदगी का सफर है ये कैसा सफर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं फ्रॉम 1972 1970 मूवी सफर व्हाट ए स्ट्रेंज जर्नी दिस लाइफ इज जिंदगी हर कदम एक नई जंग है मेरी जंग 1985 life is a new battle at every step. So I have collected some illustrations from Indian cinema, not only in the form of lines but also in the form of songs itself. Just have a look.
किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निशान, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है. अमीर है माला अपनी जेब से फकीर है फिर भी यार पीछे हम अमीर हैं मिटे जो प्यार के लिए वो जिंदगी जले बहार के लिए वो जिंदगी किसी को हो ना हो हमें तो एतबार जीना इसी का नाम है. जिंदगी कैसी है पहेली कभी तो हंसाए कभी ये रुलाए.
So we can have some more examples of philosophizing the meaning of life. Different shades of life are reflected in these beautiful songs of Indian cinema.
जिंदगी तो बेवफा है एक दिन ठुकराएगी जिंदगी तो बेवफा है एक दिन ठुकराएगी मौत महबूबा है अपने साथ लेकर जाएगी मर के जीने की अदा दो दुनिया को सहलाएगा, रोते हुए आते हैं सब, हंसता हुआ जो जाएगा। जिंदगी एक एहसास है, टूटे दिल की कोई आस है। जिंदगी एक एहसास है, टूटे दिल की कोई आस है। जिंदगी एक बनवास है, काट कर सबको जाना पड़ेगा। जिंदगी प्यार का गीत है, इसे हर दिल को गाना पड़ेगा। जीत जाएंगे हम, जीत जाएंगे हम, तुम्हारे संग है। जिंदगी हर कदम एक नई जंग है। जिंदगी हर कदम एक नई जंग है।
So, another aspect of Indian cinema is that it also depicts the various phases of life in the form of songs. How you perceive women's place in society, that is another idea. This titled, I'm just going to show you one cartoon, and this cartoon was developed by Nilab Banerjee for UN Women India. The share of women's unpaid work is 51% compared to only 33% of men's unpaid work in India. We strive to make women's work count in the economy. This was the basic theme or basic synopsis upon which this cartoon was designed by Nilab Banerjee. And what does it say? Oh, she doesn't work, she is a housewife. That's the exclamatory idea in this depicted by this cartoon. You may have the perception towards women by the society, how society develops its outlook towards women. Does philosophy make sense? Women, a journey of social perceptions. She is Brahmavadini. Jai Dastam is a term comes from the Atharva Veda, where it means wife is home. She is a Vidushi, Gargi, Apala, Katyayani, Paulomi, Vishvara, and so many other women who were very learned women in ancient India. Sometimes she is Ardhangini, role model, equally respected, like Bharti Devi, who just involved in the Shastrarth with Shankaracharya, and role models like Sita, Savitri, and so on. She is Devi, goddess. Shakta Sampradaya was originated on this idea. Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Kali. Kanya Pujan in different traditions, like in Durga Puja, there is a tradition of Kanya Pujan. Matriarchal society in Northeast, sometimes on the other hand, we also find that in North India or some parts of UP, Bengal or Delhi, you find that so the structure of society is patriarchal. But if you go to northeastern part of India, then you find that society is matriarchal. In many of the parts, like in Manipur, you will find, or in Meghalaya, you find. Then she is devoid of rights, complete submission to husband. Sati Pratha, if husband died, she had to burn alive with dead body of husband. This was also the tradition once in ancient India. It was abolished. Sati Pratha was abolished in 1829 by the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Rai and William Bentinck. But for centuries, this kind of tradition was also there, the part of this Indian society, Sati Pratha. It was so diabolical. And she has to manifest her married identity and no right to remarry if becomes widow. This was also the tradition once in Indian society. All stereotypes and taboos for women, parda, talak, no girls, or no girls education, no educational institutions even during medieval period when Mughals or Delhi Sultanates were there. There is no instance of a girls' madrasa. Neither in ancient India there was no Gurukul for the women. However, they were Brahmavadinis, they used to study at home, but no specialized institutions for women, no choice of her own. Like she is often tagged as the Parayadhan or Kanyadan. Kanyadan is a tradition even today. It's in the society. Our patriarchy. So these are the terms. These are the sometimes stereotypes. Sometimes they are considered as taboos, or sometimes they are the part of the Sanskriti or the culture. So these are all the identities associated to the women. Received her status by education, both in Hindu and Muslim society. Whatever she materialized, she revived. She tried to change or reform her status when she got the education. So, in that perspectives, sometimes she is freedom fighter, sometimes she is educationist, a spiritual leader, and so on. So, works and struggle is very vast on the part of women. Like we have some instances of few women. Sultana's Dream was written by Ruqayya Sakhawat Hussain. She fought against her own community who suppressed women from the who just denied to achieve the education. So she was suppressed by that way. But she fought against it and she just could be able to revive her status. She wrote various poetries like Padmrag, and she was married to an ICS officer, Sakhawat Hussain, and that's why her monumental work, Sultana's Dream, is very popular. You may also go through it. And then Zenana controversy is associated with the Muslim society, and Ruqayya Sakhawat Hussain not only fought against it, but the legendary Urdu writer Ismat Choghdai also wrote a lot of stories against it, a lot of ideas against it. And Lehaf, the quilt, is one of the representative story on the idea of the women of freedom and how she can manifest or she can disseminate how she is thinking, the perception. And on the other hand, you also see the Savitri Bai Phule and her efforts for the female education. She was one of the first female teachers in India, in Indian history, and she fought for the female education. And Fatima Sheikh, the forgotten pioneer, she was one of the colleagues of Savitri Bai Phule, and so on. Again, you see that women are breaking the taboos and stereotypes in Indian society, like patriarchy in society. Women in North East India, financial and domestic freedom is there. Women, both households and business women. So we often see one aspect that women is suppressed. Women was had to face such types of tyrannies like Sati Pratha and so on. But now women is also reviving herself by way of this is the perception how society is changing. This is the Bhartiye Drishti, that it is not confined to the narrow mindedness towards the women, but also it allows women to move further. So this is one of the markets in Manipur, Ema Cattle or Mother's Market, where only women run the entire business. Another taboo and stereotypes what women is breaking, like you see certain I have written certain sentences on these figures, and on the other hand how she is breaking. दुनिया को सहारा देने वाला तो मर्द ही होता है. This was a stereotype. Well, but what we see, that is the Mother Teresa. She is just giving sahara to all kinds of people, particularly those who are in need of help. Then लड़कियां कमजोर होती हैं, ये कहाँ लड़ेंगी. This term is associated with the women's weakness, but you see that Lakshmi Agarwal, who is a acid attack survivor, I know you all are acquainted with. I'm just giving it as an illustrations in favor of breaking the taboos and stereotypes. Again, you see घर से दूर जाकर क्या कर लेगी और कितना दूर चली जाएगी. So you see Sunita Williams, the astronaut. Another is औरत की आवाज को सुनता ही कौन है. So the taboo and stereotypes are broken, and you see that Lata Mangeshkar and Asha Bhosle, the whole world listens to them. And then another taboo is ज़्यादा पढ़ाई लिखाई से कुछ नहीं होता है. Then शकुंतला देवी, the human calculator. And रोने धोने के अलावा उनके बस की तो कुछ बात ही नहीं है. किरण बेदी, India's first women IPS officer. So another taboo is शादी के बाद तो घर गृहस्थी और बच्चे ही संभालना है. another stereotype. So you see Mary Kom, the gold medalist and the women boxer, and she's also from Northeast India. And howsoever educated, financial control will remain with man. जो फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल है वो आदमी के पास ही रहेगा, औरत चाहे कितना ही पढ़ लिख ले. बट यू सी दैट आवर फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर इज ए वीमेन, Nirmala Sitharaman. And this is the end of part one. We will continue this discussion in another part. So, just leaving you with this beautiful words of Rabindranath Tagore. It's very simple to be happy, but it is very difficult to be simple. So, thank you very much. See you in the next part.